You are listening to the e-flux podcast.
This episode is a recording from December 6th, 2019, during the opening of Goldin+Senneby's exhibition, Insurgency of Life at e-flux. The exhibition is on view until February 8th, 2020.
Hi, everyone. Hello. It's really fantastic to see so many of you gather here tonight at e-flux. My name is Maria Lind, and I'm the proud curator of the exhibition downstairs called Insurgency of Life, with the eminent duo Goldin+Senneby. Woo! What we will experience tonight is a unique lecture performance by Goldin+Senneby, which forms part of the exhibition, which happens to be a retrospective. And I will give you a little bit of context around the retrospective. It's the third retrospective in 3 years that they have produced, each of them taking a totally different form, looking back at their work in different ways. And the first one was at Tensta Konsthall in Stockholm in 2016, where a number of works were shown in places around the city connected to the content of each of the projects. So it was a dispersed retrospective with old works in places like one of the state pension funds, the state finance inspection, a historical art museum, as well as a shop for men's clothes. The second one took place in Australia, in Brisbane, at the Institute for Modern Art. And it was a bootleg retrospective, meaning that works were remade for the situation in Brisbane. Here we have a retrospective which latches on to something very, very concrete, a bodily condition. To be precise, MS, multiple sclerosis, as a condition that 50% of Goldin+Senneby is experiencing since about 15 years. So it is something that has traveled with the artists as long as they have worked together, more or less. And what we have downstairs are a number of components that come out of research connected to this disease and experiences from it. So you will see downstairs a metal pool with a live organism growing quite fast. It's a particular kind of fungus which has been used in Chinese medicine for hundreds of years, which is known to be life-enhancing and, in general, a very positive medium. When it has been used by the medical industry recently, it has had less positive effects, to the point that it has actually been proven to be deadly. And it is something that also Goldin+Senneby have a certain experience from. The fungus grows in a really particular way. It only grows from a cicada nymph. A cicada nymph which likes to bury itself in the ground, in the earth. So that's one of the images that you see downstairs, and it's a special kind of X-ray photograph that is used in medicine, among other things. The pool itself has also special connections to art history, another kind of history of images. So I encourage all of you to go online, not now, but later, to check out a painting from the 1540s by the German painter Lucas Cranach called The Fountain of Youth. It's remarkable, where some older people are taken to a square pool in the middle of the forest where they bathe and walk up on the other side of the pool as young people again. We also have a useful cheating mechanism, the Lego pedometers. They're there to trick the insurance companies that want people to exercise in a particular way. And of course, this is connected to big data, our bodies, our health as a source of wealth that can be extracted by pharmaceutical companies. And don't miss the drawings in the little room. The drawings that also feature the nymph, the fungus, the body, the nervous system, and how they're interconnected. So we will have now a 30-minute lecture performance by Goldin+Senneby. And I would like to, on behalf of Goldin+Senneby and myself, thank very, very much the team at e-flux. And this is Amal Issa, it's Will Lee, it's Hallie Ayers, it's Ines Telles Carvalhal, it's Chris Dorland, Danny Gallegos, and Erin Farrow Murray, and of course also Brian Cohen-Wood and Anton Vidokle. Simon and Jakob, the floor is yours.
It was in 2008. You were sitting on a rooftop just looking straight up. It was a clear blue day with clouds drifting across. You remember the sky. You remember being fully present in space, just being there with the colors of the sky, receiving the outside world. You remember it as a kind of clarity, an immediacy of perception which you are no longer able to attain.
Hi, my name is Goldin+Senneby.
And I'm Simon Goldin, and we work together since 17 years as Goldin+Senneby.
And I'm Amala Issa. I work here at e-flux and have produced this exhibition with Goldin+Senneby opening tonight. The artists have asked me to interrupt their talk with some notes they have written on the experience of delay.
In this brief talk, we will draw on bodily experiences from these 17 years that have shaped both our artistic life decisions while remaining largely invisible in our artistic output. These experiences concern living with an autoimmune condition. I have multiple sclerosis, or MS, and what that has meant for our joint subjectivity.
We begin with the cicada. As we were preparing this talk, we came across a chapter in the poet Anne Carson's book, Eros the Bittersweet, a chapter on cicadas. It begins, "Cicadas also spend their lives starving to death in pursuit of their desire." And it is true. The adult cicadas above ground refrain from both eating and drinking and spend all their time singing and reproducing, and die after only 6 weeks.
Carson is not only a poet, but also a scholar in ancient Greek language. In Greek mythology, we learn cicadas were once humans who fell in love with singing. They were so struck with the pleasure of it, so they sang and forgot to eat and drink and died before they knew it. The cicada here becomes the metaphor for surrendering completely to desire, surrendering to the here and now, outside of time, or as Carson puts it, their solution to the lover's paradox of now and then is to simply enter the now of their desire and stay there.
But what Carson leaves out of her narrative is the time the cicadas spend underground. The nymph cicadas can be maturing underground for up to 17 years before they burst out and reach for the sky in an ecstatic 6 weeks of song. Taking this underground life into account, we could reconsider the erotic metaphor of the cicada as one who spends most of its life anticipating and longing for this final moment of ecstasy. And actually, it is this extreme postponing of the desire that makes the cicada so vulnerable.
Being stuck in one place, underground, for 17 years makes you susceptible to all kinds of pathogens, bacteria, viruses, fungi. There are fungi species that only grow on nymph cicadas. They are parasites.
The spores attach to the cicadas underground, colonize the nymph, overwhelm them, and eventually sprout out of their heads like miniature cauliflowers.
The infested cicada will never burst out of the ground in ecstatic song. The nymph dies as its intestines are hollowed out by the fungal infection, and the mushroom finally bursts through its brain and up above the ground, reaching for the sun.
For centuries, these mushrooms have been gathered and used in traditional Chinese medicine as part of an eternal youth nostrum. Above ground, they are small, white, fluffy mushrooms, difficult to find. It's only if you dig down underground that you find the corpse of the cicada with its exploded head.
As it happens, the two of us first met in the forest 17 years ago, picking mushrooms, or rather looking for mushrooms. Simon was mainly occupied with finding a mobile phone signal. And I was rather fungophobic at the time.
So we didn't find any mushrooms then, but now, 17 years later, the mushroom has found us.
You remember the sky? It was in 2008. You were sitting on a rooftop, looking straight up. It was a clear blue day with cumulus clouds drifting across. These days, the outside world enters slower. It lacks that immediacy. You have come to think of it as delayed exposure, like a slow shutter speed. A gap in time between you and the outside world. It's not so easy to put words on it. Comparing yourself to a camera setting doesn't work for everyone. You tried to explain it to your doctor once, this experience of delay, but didn't seem like he quite understood. He asked if it was fatigue or depression. It's common, he said. You said it was more like numbness, not unlike the numbness of touch in your legs, but instead a numbness in seeing. Colors are the first to go, you said. You recognize it from periods of severe stress, this loss of colors. Only you're not that stressed this time. It is nothing strange, really. Your condition is neurological. Your signals are delayed, and therefore your senses. That's simply the mechanics of it. Still, there's something haunting about this delay. Speed or slowness can only be experienced in contrast to a different speed or a different slowness, and changes are gradual. They happen over years. Your doctor reverts to tests. Your condition is diagnosed using scans of your brain.
The video you are watching is a CT scan of a fungi-infested cicada. 5,400 X-ray images cutting horizontally through the fungi and down towards and into the body of the nymph cicada, 1 fraction of a millimeter at a time. We are soon approaching the place where the fungi meets the cicada and pierces through the brain into the body of the cicada.
I first came in contact with this fungus during a clinical trial a few years ago. I was offered to take part in a phase 3 clinical trial for a drug called Goldin+Senneby, marketed by the Swiss pharmaceutical Novartis. It was the first MS medication to be taken as an oral pill rather than injected. I read up on the active substance and found out that it had been extracted from a fungus used as part of an eternal youth nostrum in traditional Chinese medicine. I appreciated the provenance, and for all the uncertainty of clinical trials, I was happy that the active ingredient had been tried and tested for hundreds of years.
MS is considered an autoimmune condition, a diagnostic category that includes a large and growing number of chronic conditions. This is how the drug company Novartis describes autoimmunity, and I quote, "For 8% of the population, their bodies are their own worst enemies. Diagnosed with an autoimmune or autoinflammatory disease, these patients are victim of their own inbuilt defense systems, which has, for some reason, switched allegiance and is now mistakenly attacking healthy tissue and organs." Did you notice the weaponized language, the war metaphors, being a victim to your own inbuilt defense systems, which has switched allegiance and is now mistakenly attacking yourself, like treason of the body?
And this is in no way particular to Novartis. This is the general language of autoimmunity. And this is what all of us who live with autoimmune conditions have been told, that our body's defense system has somehow gone into overdrive and is attacking the self. But what exactly is the self, this auto of the autoimmune? What is this fortified subject, this subject at war? And for 8% of us, at war with our own selves.
A brief excavation into the history of autoimmunity reveals that the very diagnostic category relies on a juridical and political concept of the self, which has been imported into biology and superimposed onto our biological selves. Cultural theorist Ed Cohen has written extensively on this, describing how immunity is first and foremost a legal and political term invented in ancient Rome, as in a person being above the law while holding certain office. And the notion of self-defense as a natural right is first introduced in Hobbes' political theory, written in the context of the English Civil War. When the combined metaphor of immunity as defense is introduced to biology, it implicitly characterizes life as war by other means, in a way which previous medical theories had not.
When adding the concept of autoimmunity, the ability to discriminate between self and non-self is introduced as a central figure, at which the autoimmune body is supposedly failing. This figure further fortifies the image of the body as a binary and antagonistic relationship to its surroundings.
But as we've seen, these binary metaphors of friend, enemy, and self, non-self do not originate from reflections on living processes, but are directly important from the way Western political philosophy has depicted on how some humans behave towards other humans in times of war. And merely considering that our bodies host at least as many bacteria as there are cells, not to mention the amount of viruses, and that these coexist in interdependent relationships, it would seem that our biological selves relate to the surrounding world in far more porous and entangled ways.
As for the experience of living with a condition like MS, with the gradual loss of ability, it is very much about being entangled and dependent, or discovering how dependent we all are. Our surroundings fold into us, and we fold into the surrounding world. From all of our microbiomes being shared and exchanged here in this room right now, to our social relations on mutual care and support, to the drugs we need to deal with our conditions. In other words, it's complicated.
Nobody knows why autoimmune conditions appear in the first place, and even less how they could be cured. The treatments on offer are all different ways of broadly suppressing the immune system, the idea being that you can limit the self-harm by generally limiting the body's defensive system and capacity, to continue the militarized language.
But we also know that all such immune-suppressing treatments open us up to other unpredictable vulnerabilities over time. As new drugs are introduced, our bodies become the testing ground. An earlier treatment I was on turned out to be so immune compromising that it risked unleashing a deadly retrovirus.
As for Gilenya, the pill with its active substance coming from the cicada-eating fungi, the FDA has recently put out a warning about its flush-out effects. If you stop taking the drug, they say your condition could worsen severely and irreversibly.
Your doctor reverts to tests. Your condition is diagnosed using scans of the brain. According to the scans, the medication is working. The condition has stabilized. Only that is not what you are experiencing. Your doctor reverts to tests. For cognitive capacity, the standard is a symbol-digit modalities test. At the top of the paper, 9 symbols are paired with digits 1 to 9, and below is a long string of the symbols in random order. Your task is to translate the symbols back into numbers and say them out loud, as many as you can during 1 minute. Your score has been fairly consistent over the years, although maybe it was a few years since you did it last. You're not that worried about the symbol-digit translation. You're more concerned about losing touch with color. You can only compare to memories, to the blue sky from the rooftop in 2008.
We are now deep inside of the cicada and are soon approaching the gut. Most of the intestines have been eaten up by the fungi, filling out the shell of the nymph with a new body.
I don't know if it has anything to do with my neurological condition, but I've always internalized the world. I experience the world on the inside. I can compare it to Simon. Some years ago, we were in an earthquake together. It was in the middle of the night. We were asleep. Suddenly, everything started shaking. Simon woke and immediately was looking to protect his computer from things falling off the shelves. Meanwhile, I was convinced I was having a heart attack, that the shaking was actually happening inside of me.
For the biomedical industry, these more subjective experiences have always been the hardest to capture. They don't register in brain scans, nor do they come through in a symbol-digit modalities test. They are hard to get to in a 10-minute meeting with your doctor, and even if you would start telling your doctor random stories about your experiences of earthquakes or your memories of a blue sky, your doctor wouldn't know exactly what to do with them. From a testing point of view, the problem with your individual irreducible experiences is that they are precisely individual and irreducible. The data is unstructured and not computable, and therefore it's not fungible.
As we were talking about this other day, and Simon was going on about fungibility, it took me some time to understand that it had nothing to do with either fungi or ability. But it is a term from finance meaning interchangeability, like a commodity or asset of which one quantity is indistinguishable from another equal quantity in a system of exchange.
The drug company Novartis's latest developments and acquisitions are all in the field of data collection and artificial intelligence. They're all about making your personal patient experience fungible.
They've realized that most of your life, even if you have a severe chronic condition, is spent outside of hospitals and structured test situations. And this, most of your life, is what they are now trying to figure out how to structure and extract. Actually, all the big tech companies, pharmaceuticals, and insurance businesses are currently investing in what they call patient-generated health data. It's about turning the full personal experience of illness into a tradable commodity.
This is how Novartis promotes their new app, Elevate MS, and I quote again. Living with MS is an ever-changing story. Some days are easy, while other days your MS symptoms consume your story. The Elevate MS study wants to learn more about these unique stories. In our research, every experience counts. It's about you in real life. If you're 18 or older, live in the US, and have a personal iPhone, please consider joining this study.
Elevate MS is just one of many apps currently being developed through Apple's new health research platform, launched earlier this fall with the slogan, "The future of health research is you." But as any patient in a medical trial knows, it's never about you. You are only the anonymous host of a condition, and this condition is the real subject of study and potential commercialization. It is about making you fungible.
Yet, it is worth asking how this you of the patient-generated health data relates to the fortified self in the language of immunity and autoimmunity. Will the drive towards ever larger and more granular data sets do away with the limited view of the self at war with its surroundings, and as the analogy goes, at war with yourself in the case of autoimmunity? Will it succeed in capturing a more holistic view of the self, which accounts for more complex and porous interactions with our surroundings?
And do we want a more holistic view of ourselves being captured, extracted, and traded on a market?
It is often said that you become what you eat. But as you swallow the pill, you're unsure if you are becoming more like the fungi of eternal youth, or indeed the cicada whose head is about to sprout.
It's hard to even know if the experience of delay is neurological or narrative. Are you experiencing your brain signals slowing down? Or are you experiencing knowing that your brain signals have slowed down? Is it even possible to make such a distinction? You've learned to compensate with words for this loss of immediacy, the loss of losing yourself to the colors in the sky. Putting words on it helps. It reminds you of that presence, reminds you that it exists even when you cannot reach it. Maybe it's just aging, an accelerated experience of aging. Now your doctor is with you. He thinks MS has a lot to do with aging. The condition is like aging. Most people experience similar symptoms with old age. Only you are aging at a faster pace than culture prescribes. The delay expands, but time does not.